Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Well, welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by Rachel Furman from Studio City in California. And until about 5 minutes ago, I hadn't actually ever spoken to Rachel. But I had come across her twice, very, very briefly. And I was struck by the journey that she's been on in the intervening periods of that. So just over a year ago, when I was speaking at the 3P UK conference in London, I remember Rachel standing up and asking a question. She is battling through stage 4 cancer at the moment. And she mentioned how much the 3 Principle has helped her in her life, but that she was still frightened and scared about where she currently is in life, or where she currently was in life at that stage. And we could all feel the pain and the sort of frightened nature in Rachel in that room, and we all sort of felt that with her. Fast forward 12 months, and right at the start of the virtual 3P UK conference this year, Rachel put a virtual hand up and said, can I say something, please? And I was blown away by the joy and fun spirit that was sort of coming through her in that moment. And I thought, this is someone I need to speak to. And here we are, about a month later. So thank you so much, Rachel, for coming to join us.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, the purpose of this whole podcast is looking at insight, how we learn and grow all the time through seeing things subtly differently, or potentially majorly differently. But it's something that's shifted in the way we see it. And I'd be really interested to understand your journey from where you were last year to the beaming, smiling face that's in front of me today.
Yes. I guess the biggest insight, and I had many, 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 and they keep on coming, that's a blessing of this understanding, is that, with cancer, there is a major roller coaster. And, there is like a promise that, if you do this, it's going to be over and you're going to be cured. And then you do this and it doesn't work. And then you go back and you say, okay, new medication, this is going to do it. And you try, and for a little bit it works. And then you go back and it doesn't work. And so this illusion that tomorrow is going to get better, and tomorrow you're going to get cured, and this is the solution, and this is going to solve it. And this thing of like living through, if only. Mm-hmm. Because now I'm not okay. Now I'm sick. Now, I'm doomed. And I'm waiting for this little magic, little miracle, little something that is going to change. And it's going to make it better. And after a while of doing that roller coaster, mm-hmm. suddenly I had an awareness of like, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? You're having now. All you have is now. And the moment I saw it, it's not like I didn't get upset about, bad results or mm-hmm. markers going up or something not working. But that upset maybe lasted, an hour, 2 hours. Yeah. It didn't dominate my life. It was just, this is normal. This is a human condition. That's my humanness. Of course, I'm going to be, upset if it's not, what I really, really, really wanted. But that's not who I am. And I have now, and all I have now, and all we have is now. And that shifted really a major thing in me of like, okay, I'm feeling okay now. What do I do with that? And I started traveling, and I started, I remodeled, and I have a new garden, and, I'm like enjoying life to the fullest. I really enjoy life. And I tell my friends, I say, you're so lucky that you still have the illusion and you don't need to break the illusion. You really are lucky that, and I'm not going to burst your bubble, but you are living in an illusion. There's no tomorrow. There's no, it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. This is what is. This is what is. Enjoy what is. And it's just magical. It's just wonderful.
That's really cool. It's, it is the essence of everything is the acceptance of what is right now is what we have right now. And that comes with mixed blessings in terms of there are some physical things going on that are true, but there's also, and we've got the opportunity of experiencing that and everything else around us. And the notion that just round the corner is the thing that's going to unlock everything, maybe not, but don't hang on that, because you're missing, as you say, what's going on right now. That's wonderful. So, what have you been up to in the last 12 months? Then you mentioned the fact you've remodeled and done the garden and the sort of travel element. Where in the world have you been? What have you been doing and learning there?
So the first time we met, you saw me, was in London. Mm-hmm. From London, I went to Ireland with a friend. So that was phenomenal. I then went to Israel. From Israel, I went to Portugal. And from Portugal, I went to Paris. And then this year I already has been to, in the middle, I've been to New Jersey and mm-hmm. to New York. I've been to Israel again and to Prague. And then I came back to Studio City, and then I went to Stockholm. And from Stockholm, I went to Oslo, and then I went on a ship to Norway. And I did 6 weeks over the fjords, and I came back to Bergen, and then from there to Stockholm and back home. And I'm planning my next trip, and I'm like doing one trip at a time.
Amazing. That's so cool. I remember you being asked when you asked your question this year. So where are you coming from? I said, well, I'm currently on a ship in the Norwegian fjords. Okay, cool. Well done. How's that going? And I just love the transition from, you come all the way to London, which was amazing in itself. But the right, well, let's just grab life by the ears and let's see where it takes us. And it's, the energy that's coming out of you now is so wonderful, so full of desire and hope for enjoying what is right in front of you. And I think, that's just such a wonderful thing to share with people, because we don't have to be up against it in terms of, what life has in offer for us. We don't have to get to that stage. It's available for everybody on the planet right now. And that's what this is all about. It's about sharing that. And it's stories like yours that really sort of hopefully bring that into focus for people, and help them step out of the illusion that, well, if I get this, and this, it'll be okay. Because okay is where we are.
Exactly, and I want to emphasize, for anybody who is going through any hardship, it's not like I don't have difficulties. It's not like I'm ignoring it. It's not like I'm Pollyannish. I just had treatment last Thursday. I came back last week Monday from Stockholm, and on Thursday I already had the treatment. And that came with, the yuckiness of a treatment and being tired and then major constipation that was, horrendous, and my skin breaking out and peeling, and more tiredness and pain in my stomach. But it's not horrific. It is what it is, and I know it will pass. I know it's not something that, oh my gosh, now I'm doomed. Yeah, that's part of the journey. It's like you eat something and then you need to brush your teeth. Oh, well,
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, well, you forgot to brush your teeth. You have a really bad taste in your mouth. Oh, well, it's not like life is all smooth and all, joy all the time and all happiness. But even when it's hard and harsh, and I'll say harsh because sometimes it's harsh, it's not horrific. I'm not going into suffering, which I used to go in the past. I do have a tendency to go into poor me, which is funny because now I'm aware of it. That's another insight. Now, when I'm in a low mood or low energy, I know I go into poor me. And I actually enjoy it. I actually have a kick out of that. I'm like, okay, yeah, here's where I am. And it's an indicator. I need to take a break. I need to eat something, drink something, maybe call a friend. But that's all it is. It's not, again, like, yeah, poor me. Oh, my gosh. It's the end of the world. What's going to be? No, it's just low energy.
Yeah, it's where you are in that moment. And as you say, it's an indicator. It's just saying, okay, you're feeling low right now, and you're picking up on that stuff.
Yeah, and it's my humanness. It's totally okay. It's my humanness. And, like when I said before about the roller coaster, I told a friend, I said, I have three, situations. It's like when I get really good results, then I will be, and I'm aware of it. I'll be happy. Sometimes not that much because maybe the results are not as good as I thought they should be. If it's neutral, didn't go bad or good, up or down, I'll be neutral. And maybe a little bit disappointed. And if it's going to be bad, and then I will be disappointed and I'll be a little bit upset. Oh, well, and this shall also pass. And, being aware that this is what you do, that's what your brain, that's what it does. That's your humanness, and that's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to, it's not the end of the world. There's nothing to do with it. This is just, just like the ocean. It goes up and down. Like I tell anybody, I go every Sunday, I go to the beach. I go to Santa Monica and I go to the beach on Sundays because of traffic in Los Angeles. So Sunday mornings, there's no traffic here and you can go to the beach easily, 22 minutes, and I'm there. And, when I go to the ocean, sometimes it's calm and sometimes it's stormy. And there was no one time when I went to the ocean and said, started screaming at it. I showed up on a Sunday morning. I woke up really early to visit you and look at you. You're stormy.
Yeah, you're a right mess today. Sort yourself out.
Yeah, calm down. What's wrong with you? I'm here,
Come on, let me give you a hug.
Yeah, chill, Never. And nobody does that, but we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How true is that? Oh, that's cool. Now, I also know that you're running a number of talks with a friend in your part of the world. I don't know whether that's just within Los Angeles or will you go further than that, or whether it's in one location. But I wondered if you wanted to share about what it is that you guys are up to, what that looks like, just to sort of maybe give people some inspiration of what they might want to do in their local communities.
So the first thing that I was asked to do is talk to other patients of cancer, because I belong to to an Israeli association that supports cancer patients. And originally I was there as a guide or a support, and now I'm a patient. But even being a patient, I was asked to talk to other patients. And so I gave a talk about it. And whenever there is a patient that has a little bit of difficulty, I talk to them, they refer them to me. And it's funny because I didn't know how good I was doing till I was told I was doing good.
Yeah.
I thought that was just normal, I'm just like going, and then I was like, no, you're really like, your attitude is really great. Well, I wanted to talk to such and such because they have a hard time. And so absolutely, I'll talk to them. And by talking to other people and seeing their struggle, without this understanding, I was like, oh yeah, lucky us, lucky me, for really having this insight and making my journey doable and in a way, really magical, really magical. I'm also doing workshops on understanding, like befriending our feelings. There's one coming up in San Francisco, the 15th of July, and on trauma and PTSD and grief, because that's very prevalent. I'm writing a book, but that's really in the infancy of it's.
That's cool. Well, it's out in the world. You've told us now.
Yeah. Now I really have to do it.
Yeah, you're on the hook now.
And I'm definitely working with clients. I'm working with clients that have a hard time either with something that is chronic or physical ailment or emotional, and mental challenges. And I'm doing that, and I'm really enjoying that. I'm also working in, I also having workshops, varying workshops for groups online. So
lovely. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, I'll grab some details off you later, and we'll put in how to find all of that in the footnotes so that people can look you up. I just want to take you back to something you said in there in terms of the conversations you were having with other people and them saying how well you were doing and you hadn't realized. And that's, for me is so very true and completely normal as well, isn't it? Because, our experience is growing incrementally all the time. And so we don't see those changes. It's only when we bump into someone we've not seen for a while that they go, oh, wow, look at that. And I was working with some veterans last week on a project where they were all together for 3 or 4 days. And some of them had met each other before, some of them hadn't. But there was always someone that they knew that they'd come across on the sort of previous version of the course that we were running. And they sort of expect it from those of us that were leading the whole thing to say, look how well you're doing. But what was fascinating and what they took huge joy in was how well they saw each other coming on, because they saw the growth and the change in their peers, and they completely took the comment back from their peers saying, and look how far you've come, because they were on a level playing field. They were talking to each other from the same level of understanding in that sense, in terms of lived experience. And I think that's really cool, because it's our ability to hold the mirror up to each other and go, look at you, that's amazing. And it was that, it was that thought that grabbed me on the day one of the conference this year when you spoke. You went, right, actually, we need to be pointing this out, because there was such a growth journey in you that I saw from, an element of despair, I suppose, 12 months ago, to this sort of person that's beaming with joy. And as you say, it's not all the time. There are bits which are uncomfortable and that are difficult at times. but you know they're not going to last, and you know that being here right now and accepting it for what it is and lapping it up for all the glory that's in and amongst it. Yeah, all power to you. It's wonderful to see.
Thank you. Yeah, like what you're saying is exactly true. It's like you don't see yourself because you think that how you are is normal because that's your experience. You really don't have anything to compare it to. And only when there is somebody on the outside saying, what's going on? Like, wow, how come you're in such a good mood all the time? In fact, I have a friend who is also going through a similar situation. She's like, what medications are you taking? And I'm like, I'm not taking any medication. Now I'm a retired pharmacist. So that really made me like really laugh. And she's like, I'm taking antidepressants and I'm not in a good mood like you. You're not taking any medication. I'm like, no, I'm not taking any drugs. This is me. And she could not. She thought that I'm not telling the truth. Mm. And I was like, wow. And I wasn't aware she was, but and she was in such a bad situation, such bad attitude. The other thing that I saw with her is like she kept on saying, I'm not like you. I can do because at one point I went on a very strict discipline. I went on the Gerson diet, which was really harsh discipline. And I did it for about 3 years. And I'm quite disciplined, like we said before, I was in the military. I know how to follow rules. I don't like to follow rules, but I know how to do that if I need to, and especially when I know that it might benefit me. And she's like, I can do it. And that was another insight that I had, a major insight that I knew before, but I experienced it for myself of like, you can do what you tell yourself you can do, or you cannot do what you tell yourself you cannot do. And I saw it, especially now in this trip, to Norway, of like how I limit myself by thinking I can't do it. And switching it like, I don't know if I can or can't, let's try. Mm-hmm. And then saying to myself, I can do that. I have a little bit of a hard time walking, balancing because I had medications that caused neuropathy in my legs. And so if it's not even paved, if they are like, mm-hmm. If it's downhill, I would rather hold someone than walk by myself because I feel scared. I'm afraid to fall. Yeah. And there was one point when I was on one of the trips without my friend, and I was like, okay, the worst case scenario, I ask someone, but let's see, I can do it. And I went downhill by myself, slowly, but I did it.
Well done, you.
And it felt so good. I mean, It really felt so good. And it's like the same thing with the travel. This trip, the previous trip, I had 4 flights. This trip I had 7 flights.
Correct.
Over 12 days. I had 7 flights. I mean, that's a lot, And I was like, Rachel, you're crazy. this is crazy, But I did it. I made it. I know I can do it. It's like, and I was like, okay, what if? I'm like, what if I can always get, a ticket back home? Stop, plan B. Yep. There's always plan B. But let's try. Let's see. And we all, like I know, I'm going to talk for myself. I know how I limit myself. And this is something that I'm noticing more and more of like, maybe you can. And maybe, there's no limit to what you can do.
No, that's lovely. And so true. You're an inspiration to us all, Rachel. It's that, well, what have I got to lose in trying? So what if I fail? just by trying, I might, actually, I could do it like this instead. Well, I don't know why I didn't see that at the time, but until we start doing something, we don't create, we don't find the conditions and create them to see the next step. And I think that's a lovely way of putting it. So, well, maybe I can't, but I can try. How cool is that?
Yes, and it creates, it creates an openness, and that's the beauty of the principles, is that by exploring them and by experiencing them, there's more and more openness. There's more and more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
The box that I was living in, the limiting belief, the limiting understanding that I was living in, that felt safe and felt okay, But there was definitely there was no joy. Like the joy that is, it's the energy that flows by itself. It's freely, without bumping into a wall of saying, okay, up to here, no more,
Yeah.
And so it's just really a real blessing. I really, it's that's the other thing with the principles, is that I'm a lot of times out of words, to describe really what it is that I'm experiencing.
The cool thing about not being able to describe it is we can see it and feel it. Okay, so the very thing that we struggle to describe is who we are, is how we relate to the world, and you said yourself, there's an energy to it. There completely is. The energy of connecting with people oozes out of people at times, and at other times we can see people completely shut off. It's like there's no lights on. They're there, they're operating, but there seems to be no life in behind their eyes. And I saw that with some of the guys on this course that I was talking about last week from the previous course, that the lights weren't particularly on very often. And for some of them last week, the lights went on when they arrived, but within a very short period of time, they were laughing, having fun with each other. There was a real bounce and joy to them, despite the fact that their home life collection of personal circumstances weren't particularly rosy and might not be going forwards. But that in that moment, it didn't matter, because they were experiencing the moment that they were in together, exploring together, and they were fully playing life. The lights were on and they were all in, which is wonderful, because as you say, that the sort of putting yourself in a box to protect yourself is a really, really helpful thing at times, but it does shutter us off from a whole load of opportunity. And it's normally fear that shuts us off from that, because it's trying to protect us from the big bad world and what might be out there, and don't look too far ahead, and all of those kind of things. But actually, that first tentative step outside of it, outside of the boundaries we've innocently created for ourselves, feels free, feels exciting, not in a daredevil kind of way, but, this isn't too bad. Let's see where this goes. And the more people trust that, the more they experience life for what it is, which is what I'm seeing you do in spades right now. And it's lovely.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So have you got any, I can't remember if you mentioned it, any more trips coming up? Where's the next plan?
So the next one is going to Oregon. I have two that have some, time zone sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Very wise.
One is for Oregon, and the other one is going to be to Canada, to Banff and Whistler and Lake Louise, and I'm planning on also going to Salt Spring Island, for one day, because I've been there with Elsie and and I want to just go and visit and maybe hopefully be able to see Elsie. So that's coming in September, and then October, November is Paris and France, because I've not been to the country. I've been to Paris, but there's a few more things I want to see in Paris, and then renting a car and driving to. And then next year, Japan. So I already have and if I can squeeze in the east coast of Canada this year, wonderful. If not, it's going to wait till next year. So there's, and I'm sure there's going to be a New York trip in the middle. So
fantastic.
Somewhere. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. That's it's funny how just thinking about those trips and like the joy that comes from, I'm saying, with every trip, there's like 3 phases of experience and joy. The first one is the planning, phase, where you go into the details and all of that. Then you experience the trip itself. And then there's, afterwards, the memories and the pictures and, talking about it and telling friends about it. So like a trip is not just a 1 week thing, or 2 weeks thing. It's like, it's really, it really is like a chunk of like experience that keeps on giving.
That's wonderful.
So people, when you think about the price of the trip, think it's amortized for way more than 1 week or 2 weeks.
No, the return on investment is bigger than most people see.
It's way bigger.
Way bigger.
People think I'm like, 1 week and it's going to be that much. And no. You really are enjoying it for way, way, way more. And, and just one, we did, I don't know if you know what fika is, Fika. Well, the Swedes have something really fun, which is twice a day they have coffee and cake. So
I have heard of that. Yeah, tough. Yeah, well, I'm never far away from a cup of tea. So that sounds like my kind of thing.
But with a good cake,
with a good cake too. Nicely done.
So we had it in, can you imagine having it in the old town of Stockholm, across from the palace or from the castle, and in a building, this is from the 1600s. And it really tasted really, really good. I'm really good, really into really good pastries. I mean, it has to be really good. I'm really loving it. And just the memory of that, just the memory of just the experience of that. Something that's small, like, okay, it's a coffee and cake, or big deal. No, it's a big deal, because it's like, wow, being in a building from the 1600s and enjoying like this beautiful pastries and sitting with a good friend and enjoying a really great coffee, and all of that becomes, like what Sid used to say, which I didn't get that. I didn't get it till I got it. I heard about Sid that he said, every time he had a cup of tea, I don't know if you heard it, every time he had a cup of tea, that this is the best cup of tea ever. And I heard it, from one of the originals, tell it. I don't remember who it was. And I was like, what? How is this better than the one I had, how is this cake better than the one I had in Stockholm? No. But then I got it. It's like being present in the moment and really enjoying what is right in front of you, not comparing it, because then you're totally out of the experience, like really, really, really savoring every little moment of that experience. And that becomes the best one ever, because everything else is not existing. It's not here.
It's an illusion. It's a memory.
Exactly. And so that's kind of like, that is almost like, I can't say that I'm doing it all the time, but I'm definitely have the awareness to try and do it every time, to be really.
The awareness that there's a possibility of it.
Yes,
You
yes,
don't have to do it, but you might be aware in the moment that you are. And wow, that's cool. This is great. I'm
yes.
enjoying.
I really, 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 really am enjoying this moment. This moment.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
that's
without needing to say, well, you remember when we were in Oslo, that was like, yeah, I remember that too. But that doesn't take away from this moment.
mhm. That's beautiful. Well, I hadn't heard that quote about Sid and his tea, but so he's even closer to my heart than he was before. My girls will laugh because virtually every time I sit down, I go, "I love tea." When I've got a cup, when I've got a fresh one, but, yeah, we know, we've heard it before, but it feels fresh each time that I said, oh, yeah, I still love this stuff. Anyway, cool. So the various befriending groups that you have in terms of befriending your feelings and things like that, how often do you run those? I know you mentioned that the next one's on the 15th of July. This will probably go out after that. But how often do you run them, and how do people find out about them?
So basically through either my Facebook or through my email, they can, personally get in touch with me via my email, and I can or try to befriend me via my Facebook, which I announce things there.
Cool.
And I'll put them on the mailing list and
Lovely.
let them know. And how often it varies, really depending on my travels.
That's cool. No, that's cool. That's fair. So ad hoc. Well, I'll put ad hoc.
It really is between, in between. If I have enough time between travels to go and do one, then I do one. If not, then it waits till the next.
Amazing. And you said you're doing stuff virtually as well. So are you?
Yes, I'm working with people literally from all over the world.
Cool.
On Zoom, lucky us for Zoom.
Yeah.
And, I originally thought that, one-on-one in person works better. But I can tell you that it's magical how Zoom works. And it does work. And we get just as good of results. Of course, I can't hug the person, but yeah. And I work, both in English and in Hebrew. So if anybody was, which is my maiden language, so I do, depending on the person.
Fantastic. Well, Rachel, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you today. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm so pleased that you said yes when I asked you last month if you'd come on. So thank you so much for coming. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share before we wrap up.
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me here, and of course I said yes. Anytime I can share my joy, why not? And be with somebody as sweet and nice and like you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And I really hope, if anybody has, again, the one thing I will say is that this is my experience. It's not in judgment of anybody else's experience. It's not in putting down that, that your journey is not valid or not okay because you are going through suffering. I'm just wanting to point out towards the possibility that there is, pain is inevitable, but suffering is really optional. And I'm here if you want to talk more or ask or, share your experience.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And in terms of sharing your joy, you absolutely have done. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.